So I have a bunch of random toys here that one reason or another, I let the packaging get really crappy, we'll say. So anyway, I've been, I don't know if I've mentioned this before or not off the top of my head, but I've been rearranging the studio area and trying to like make better use of the space. I have these toys here that the packaging's really no good anymore, and it would definitely save some space to get them out of these packagings and just kind of sort it into like a shelf of random knickknacks and random toys and stuff like that. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and open up each one of these things and see how cool they are outside of their dirty, dirty boxes. First up, we have an Iron Man. If I'm not mistaken, this is a toy from the first Iron Man movie. So this would have been released back then, whatever year that was. I've had this thing for quite a long time, moving from place to place with it. I never really thought it was some kind of valuable piece or something, so I left it in the packaging. It's just one of those things, and I've always been kind of, I'll take some stuff out and I'll just leave some stuff in. Not really much rhyme nor reason to it. I mean, actually, I'll come up with all kinds of reasons why I do things, but it's probably just really boils down to some things I do one way and other times I do them a different way. Anyway, so have this guy in his packaging. As you can see, or as you may be able to see in the video, it's pretty grimy on top. And I think it would be better to release him from his plastic prison and let him live on the shelf in a pose with some other kind of comic booky stuff and, take up less space. All right. I'm not going to video opening any of these. I feel like that's just kind of pointless. I'm just going to rip them open. Then I'll show you how they look outside the package. Not too bad with this one. He is pretty posable. He feels pretty good in your hand. He has this accessory that you can shoot this blast out of the little arm cannon that you can attach to his arm there. I think he looks okay posed, but he does have some really weird articulation, specifically in his knees and hips. So I don't know how well it comes through in this video. Lighting's a little bit weird in here, but his knees are on this hinge like that, and I'm having a hard time coming up with the actual name for this type of piece, but you can actually pose his leg all the way to where it's like double jointed. It's kind of weird and it has a strange look. And then in the hips, they're on these balls, which don't offer the best articulation in my mind. I mean, it's fine. This gets in the way a little bit, but they look kind of funny, and you can't really close his leg. This one doesn't really close in all the way. Other than that, he looks pretty good. This came out in 2008. I looked at it on the back of the box. His elbows also have a weird kind of joint. And these shoulder pads pop right off. So I prefer him taking up less room on the shelf. He is not too bad looking. I'm going to put him with just some random stuff. I'm not building a whole collection out of these, out of this line, whatever the heck it was. I think it was for the Iron Man movie. I don't know, you can fact check me on that. Let me know in the comments how right or wrong I am. But I'm happy to have him freed from his plastic prison, cycle him in on a random shelf, probably right here on this table, and save a little bit of space. Okay, here are a few others I've had with me for quite a long time. I believe these came out in 2013, and as you might be able to see in the video, I let the bubbles get quite, we'll say, grimy. So, as I am trying to consolidate some space to make some more room for other things, I think it's time to go ahead and open these up and cycle them into a shelf of random oddball toys. So we have Ripley here, we have Predator Unmasked, and we have the Alien. First thing I noticed when I took these out of their packaging was they actually have a totally different feel to the more modern Super 7 reaction figures. So you might have seen in a previous video I've unboxed, opened, whatever, several reaction G.I. Joe figures. And one thing that I noted about those figures is the texture of the plastic. And also those figures feel dense, like they're like almost, they have some weight to them. So what I noticed immediately about these figures is the plastic, they feel much more plasticky and light. What I also noticed when I was unwrapping these, one of them had the price tag on the back. These were $10. Now this was almost 10 years ago when these were produced, but it also seems like they have moved to, I would say, higher quality plastic in the current figures that they're putting out, at least for G.I. Joe. Now these all look pretty good, I think. Ripley's face, I think, maybe looks a little generic. I think the Alien and the Predator do look really awesome. That said, they do feel like they're made out of a much lighter, plasticky, toy feeling plastic, if that makes sense. Whereas the new ones feel like they're much denser, kind of high quality. Next up, we have Heisenberg from MEZCO. This came out in about 2013. I kind of picked it up on a whim. I mean, I was a fan of the Breaking Bad show. And as you might be able to see in the video, I certainly let the bubble on this thing get pretty grimy. And I could probably clean that off, but I feel like it's not really worth it. It'll take up less space without the card, and I'm going to open it up. So let's open this thing up and see how cool it is. Okay, here is Walter White, aka Heisenberg. So this one looks really good, but it is much more of a statue than a figure or an action figure. There's no articulation. I don't think his head moves. No, I don't think so. His hat and his glasses do come off. He does come with that bag of blue meth. I tried to get him to hold it in his free hand. It would kind of hang there, but it would always eventually fall off. He doesn't really have a good grip, and it's also kind of challenging to put the duffel bag in his hand, and I didn't want to force it because I didn't want to break it. It's not the same type of plastic as you would find in like a Black Series figure or something like that. It's much more of a statue than an action figure, like I said. All that said, I think he looks really good, and he's just going to be standing there, not doing anything with him, so it'll work out great. This Edgar Allen Poe figure was in the original picture in the thumbnail, and I had it laid out in the beginning of the video. It's quite a bit dusty, but I think I came back around. I don't think I'm actually going to open this one. I don't know that it's actually worth anything or anything like that. I think having Edgar Allan Poe action figure in the package is a better look than just having him out loose. So I'm not sure if I've mentioned it here or not. Probably on the website or blog if you ever go over there. But we're here in Baltimore, and Edgar Allan Poe is a pretty popular writer from the past here in town. You know, if you know his story at all, you can make the connections. Anyway, we named our Ravens mascot after Poe. The Ravens actually get their name from Edgar Allen Poe. Anyway, I actually didn't buy this in Baltimore. Oddly, I bought this figure up in some small town out in New Hampshire, or was it Maine? Either way, some small town in New England, a really cool little place. And I'm having a hell of a time remembering the name of it now. I think it might have been Dover. Anyway, going off topic, long story short, I think I've come around to, I'm just going to clean the dust off this thing and keep it in its package. So on to the next one. Here's one that I've had for quite a long time now. This is a McFarlane Toys Movie Maniacs Texas Chainsaw Massacre Leatherface. If I'm not mistaken, I got this probably in the late 90s, 98, 99, maybe 2000, something like that tops. But I've had this thing for quite a long time. And as you can probably see in the video here, it has gotten quite grimy. You can't see it from this angle, but the bottom plastic's popping off the card. This card takes up a lot of space. In the past, I also had Freddy Krueger and Jason, but I sold those years ago. But I kept the Leatherface. But at this point, I really feel like this will look better out of the box than in the box. Save myself some space and make my display area over here in the studio look a little cleaner. I'd say this is a pretty good one. It looks good. I didn't notice or realize that it had that severed head and severed arm in the package. It was behind that Movie Maniacs sign. So that sign in the back, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre poster, it's pretty warped. It's a piece of papers that's stuck in that skeleton design frame thing. So I don't know if it was always warped like that or if that's just time being in the package for, what, 20 years or more, however long it's been. I don't know. I don't know how long I've had this thing, but it's definitely been in that package for a long, long time. So I'm assuming that the poster is warped because of that. Also, some other notes about this figure. It does look really cool. It only has a few points of articulation. So its head moves a little bit. It has articulation up and down at the shoulders and rotates at the forearms, and it rotates at the waist. But there is no articulation in the legs at all. No knees, no ankles, no hips, nothing like that. Nothing at the elbows. So he just can turn side to side at the waist, up and down on the arms, rotate the forearms, and the head has maybe it's super tight, I don't know, but you can only move it a little bit from what I can tell, at least with this version. It's really challenging to get him to hold that chainsaw in a way that looks natural. It has a lot to do with the minimal amount of articulation in the arms. You can see the hammer laying there in front of the bucket. You can't really get him to hold that right at all. Now, you might be able to place it in his hand and set his hand on his waist in a way that it can kind of set there, but I think that's more of a prop. To display it, I'm just going to stick all that stuff in the bucket and put the bucket next to him in front of that poster. Okay, so even though this one has some downsides, it's kind of early in the history of McFarlane Toys from what I understand, and it does look good for what it is. And I'm not planning on moving it around at all, so it'll likely just stand there right here on my table and look cool. Okay, that's all for now with this one. Okay, if you like this video, hit the subscribe button, give it a like, give me some comments. You know, what do you think about any of this? Do you have some old toys you've opened up that maybe were more or less cool than you hoped they would have been. In the next video, I'm either going to be talking about G.I. Joe Classified. It's been a great week, for me at least, with G.I. Joe Classified. A whole lot of figures have come through this week. I haven't made any content about that though. Also, I might do a video about or featuring this diorama, this really cool diorama that I got recently. Or maybe it'll be a mixed bag of check out this diorama, also some G.I. Joe Classified stuff. I don't know. I'm still working on it. Either way, there will be a video about G.I. Joe Classified stuff, and there will be a video about diorama stuff coming up pretty soon. So if you'd like to check out any of that or catch any of the old stuff on here, go ahead and hit the buttons. Until next time, everybody. See ya.